Welcome to Mediocre Gaming, and today we're playing Deep Rock Galactic. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Zerel. Let's get to it. Alright, today we're doing the deep dive, codenamed Outrageous Delight. But before we get to that, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and ring that bell to be notified of all future episodes as soon as they go live. So let's get into it. First stage of the deep dive has you walking around with the drill dozer, so you have to repair and maintain it as well as protecting it. So as it's drilling along, you have to keep the bugs off it, and then of course keep the health up by repairing it. In addition, you're going to be looking for 2 mini mules, and you have 2 sets of modifiers, shield disruption and volatile guts, which is a wicked combination. Volatile guts means that any enemy that dies will explode upon death, and shield disruption means that you have no shield whatsoever. You only have your life or health. So mini mules, once you scan them, you can look at the train scanner for the legs, reattach the legs to the mini mule, and then you can repair it. Once you repair both of the mini mules, then you have that objective done. And like all deep dives, you have 2 main objectives that are mandatory before you can leave the stage. So as you're going along with the drill dozer, at some point it's going to run out of fuel. You'll have to take the fuel canisters and find the oil shale. That's that bluish gray mineral that's on the side, and fill it up. Once you have it all the way full, then you reattach it, and once you get both of them, then you can continue on with your progress. Now, during the Yuletide event, you have these presents that are in the stages. You have like a 50 to 60% chance of getting swarmers. You have about 30 to 40% chance of getting a loot bug, and then the other, 5 to 10%, you have anything else, anything above average. And it is that I kind of hit the lottery with later on in a later stage, and we'll get to that later. Now, once you start cracking the armor and heartstone, you have 4 phases that you have to survive through and keep the drill dozer safe as well. First stage you have, or first phase or stage of it, you have to just have to worry about the swarms, nothing else. Second stage, you'll have these rocks that are getting pulled by the armor and out of the ceiling and the walls, and they're just going to drop them right on top of the drill dozer. It does a decent chunk of damage, so make sure that you take them out before they get there. The third phase, I would say, is very similar to the first phase, where it is just swarms of enemies that you have to deal with, and of course, repair and maintain the drill dozer while you're doing that. Although I would say probably higher tier enemies, or more enemies, and that is really, I think, the main difference between the first and the third phase. Now, once you get to the fourth phase, you'll have crystals coming out of the ground that will laser the drill dozer and knock off health. It's not a lot, but it is continuous, so it will add up over time, especially if you allow more than one laser to start hitting it at once. So once you get all of that done, then you'll have the armor and heartstone, and you won't have to worry about the health of the drill dozer any longer. You won't have to escort it. So that is great news. As long as you have 1 out of those 3 health bars on the drill dozer left, you win. If all 3 go down to 0%, you lose, and you'll have to start the deep dive over again. Now, one of the other things that you can do, in addition to grabbing the armor and heartstone, is grabbing the drill dozer, or the the main CPU of it, and take it back to the drop pod when it shows up. But once you have the mini mules and the Heartstone, you can call in the drop pod and then just make your way out. Now, the deep dive is a 3-stage raid-like environment where you can play solo with your buddy Bosco, or you can play with up to 3 other players, either friends or match made. Now, I would say it's not a problem playing solo. It's not a problem if you want to match make and play with some random people. If you're playing with more people in general, the stages will go faster than if you're playing solo. Now, your mileage may vary depending on the group that you have. Some of it depends on experience, how many deep dives these players have had other than yourself, and how many deep dives you yourself have had. Now, do remember this first stage has shield disruption, so you don't have any cushion between yourself and damage, so everything is going to come straight at you, so you're not going to have a chance to heal other than at a resupply pod or at one of the red sugar deposits in the level. Now, if you're following the mule, you'll be able to get on pretty much right away. If you get there early, you'll have to defend the area before you can leave. And that's it for stage 1. Already a third of the way done with the deep dive. On to stage 2. Now, stage 2 of the deep dive is going to be, of course, different than stage 1. Stage 2, though, has you doing industrial sabotage, which means that you're going to be looking for a data rack, and you're going to be taking on 1 dreadnought. In addition, we have a modifier, Swarm Again, which means every minute or 2, you're going to have swarmers spawning in the level and coming after you. Now, dreadnoughts, of course, are the boss-like creatures of Deep Rock. They have an immune stage, they have a shielded stage, and they have a damage stage. And you have to rotate through the different stages or phases of the boss fight in order to take them out. So when they're invulnerable, you just have to survive. When they're shielded, you take the shield down, and then, of course, damage phase, you do as much damage as possible. Take them down, and then you're done. But of course, you're not done with the stage because this is the deep dive, so you'll have to do the other objective, which is getting the data rack. In order to get the data rack, you'll have to take out the power stations that are shielding the caretaker. In order to do that, you have to call in the hacker bot, and then you have to connect the hacker bot to the power station. So once it drops in, you just plop down these little transmitters until you can connect one to the other. Now once you have it all connected up, then you're ready to go and start hacking. Call out the hacker bot and start hacking away. You just have to defend the area from the swarms and from the bots that are going to be attacking both you and the hacker bot. So not only do you have to keep yourself alive, but you have to keep the hacker pod from taking damage. You'll get a warning when it's under attack, and then of course it'll shut down. It'll go into its pod where it's immune, and then you have to call it back out to get progression again. So there's no way to really fail. It just takes longer than it otherwise should. Every time it shuts down, you have to wait a couple seconds before you can start it up again. Alright, so that's all there is to it with the power stations. So you just have to do it one more time with the other power station. Call in the hacker bot, hook it up, and then of course protect the hacker bot while it is hacking the power station. Now, because you have Swarmageddon, this stage is, I think, a little bit more difficult than it otherwise would be. So do keep that in mind when you're doing that. Once you have both power stations down, it's ready. You're ready to go take down the shield around the caretaker. So once you have both of the power stations taken care of, just go in and knock out batteries for the backup, power for the caretaker, and then of course all you have to do is take down the caretaker. Caretaker again is much like a dreadnought, where it is a boss-like creature where you have stages. So at first you'll take out the shielding, which is the vents at the top corners. You have to take all 4 of them out, and of course the caretaker is going to do everything in its power to take you out. It's got those tentacles, it has bombs that it can pop up out of nowhere, it has bots, it has turrets. So it has a large arsenal in order to deal with intruders like yourself. So do everything you can to take out the vents. Once the vents are down, then one of the 4 eyes will open. That is the damage phase, so do that as quickly as possible. Do as much damage as quickly as possible to the eye. At some point, it'll go immune, it'll shut, and then another one will open a couple seconds later. Now, you'll have to do this 3 times. So there's 3 phases to attacking the caretaker, where you have to take out the vents and then hit the eye, and of course the eye you might have to hit 2 or 3 times depending on how quickly you can get to it. But once you do that 3 times, 3 phases, you've got them taken out and you're ready to go. Now do take care and do get away from the caretaker after you defeat him, as he does violently explode and will shoot you out towards the walls where you might lose some health. So, but after that, underneath the caretaker is where the data rack was all along. Pick it up, attach it to the mule, and you're ready to go. Now, don't forget during the deep dive that you're going to want to get yourself some nitra and gold as much as possible. Gold, of course, will convert into credits at the end of the deep dive, and then nitra will help you stay flush with ammo and grenades throughout the deep dives. So every 80 nitro, you can call in 1 resupply pod, which is has 4 little pods on it, each giving you 50% ammo and all of your sources, plus some health as well. If you're playing by yourself, you probably want to wait until you're pretty low. If you're playing with other people, you'll want to wait until you're about 50% and then call one in, and then of course resupply if it's available. The first 2 stages of the deep dive, I would say, are the most difficult, mainly because of the modifiers. And that's it for stage 2, going on to stage 3. Now this is a good time to point out that everything carries over from one stage to the next. That's ammo, grenades, health, plus any resources that you've collected and resources that you have in your bag that you've not deposited in the mule or on the rig or the drop pod. So if things are getting too frenetic for you and you can't drop it in the mule and you can't drop it on the drop pod, you can always wait till the next stage to do that. Third and final stage has no modifiers. Hooray! This is going to be a point extraction, so you're looking for a quarks and extracting crystallized morkite. So just like when you're looking for gold and nitra on the sides and etc. around the level, morkite is going to be the same thing. It's going to be that darkish bluish gray mineral that's on the side or ceiling or floor of the level. The quarks are going to be likewise on the walls and floor and ceiling, but it's going to be these blue glowing specks, and you dig to where it's brightest, and then that will of course be where the quarks are at. This time you need 7 quarks and 150 morkite In addition, now because it's a full point extraction, you're going to have enemies, swarms and swarms of enemies coming at you on a increasing basis. So they might show up every 5 minutes, and then after 5 minutes they show up, and then after 4 minutes, and then 3 minutes, and it just keeps coming faster and faster. So these guys are going to come at you more and more regularly. Alright, and here we see I got the win, the big win for the present. I got alien tech. I did want to point that out because it's pretty cool that you can get something like that from the presents, not just swarmers and loot bugs. So once you get your Hoxxes, you know, half of the problem with getting the Hoxxes is finding where they're at. They're not on the train scanner, so you physically have to look for them. And this is where having more than one person on your team comes in handy, because it's another pair of eyes, another set of hands on the pickaxe to collect those quarks. Although Bosco can be quite helpful in digging them up, he is not so helpful finding them. So getting that last quark, and of course getting the rest of the Morkite, might feel like a daunting challenge. And you cannot leave the stage until you get both done. So get those quarks quickly, get the Morkite as fast as you can, and then call in the drop pod and get out. Now, unfortunately, there'll be a 2-minute cooldown before the drop pod shows up. The rig goes back up into space. You have to defend the area. And you can be anywhere in the level. You don't have to be by the rig in order to do that. If you have a good defensible position somewhere in the level, I would say go ahead and go there. Now, bugs that are close to the rig, as long as you still have those turrets, will get attacked by those turrets. Turrets don't do a lot of damage, but they do at least let you know where the bugs are coming from. Once the drop pod comes in, make a beeline for it and get out, and you're done. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to check us out on social media, and thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And we'll see you next time.
Zipline done. Eat it! I ordered a resupply.
Supplies are on the way.
I ordered a resupply.
Roger that. Supplies are coming.
Resupply ordered. Resupply.
Stand back. Supply pod inbound.
Ammunition. I ordered a resupply. Resupply.
Supply pod launched. Better stand back.
Resupply ordered.
Supply drop has been ordered and is on the way. That's one for the books. Retrieving escape pod.
The resupply is here. For rock and stone!
PlayStation